Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. You got to be careful who you pick a fight with, man. Be careful who you pick a fight with, because you know what? They may just punch you back in the mouth. MVP said no. That ban stays, and Clarissa has nowhere to go. And I'm telling you, fans are looking at the events being built around MVP, and they're like, "Yo, something interesting is brewing here." You can see it. Instead of making the entertainment surrounding the fight the primary attraction, which is what, Clarissa and her team did for that event that took place in Atlanta, where a majority of people believe the attendees were there really to see the Zeus piece of the event. There were people there to see Clarissa, but the guys on her undercard, nobody cared about. It was Zeus primarily, and then Clarissa. And you have to know who the real star of the show was. And you just look at who got paid the most, which word on the street is Tasiki. That's what her guarantee was, $50,000 more than Clarissa. But of course, I don't know about the back end money and all that. But at the end of the day, with MVP, they're not sitting here worried about all that drama. They're not worried about all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They got their emphasis placed on major fighters, championship fights, competitive matchmaking, big personalities, mainstream promotion, women's boxing. They understand social media visibility, but they're not using it the way Clarissa is. Clarissa has used social media to get visibility but destroy her brand. They're using it to grow their brand. And they're also ensuring that their women are inside the households of people across all 7 continents by having them fight on ESPN. So now what you have is traditional boxing credibility. And that creates a very different atmosphere. Matter of fact, let me see. Y'all can see this. Let me stretch this thumbnail out. Somebody was saying, "Man, it's hard to see a thumbnail." Well, there you go. Take my big head off the video, and I'll give you the thumbnail. All right. Now I'm going to tell you this: if MVP continues putting together major events without relying heavily on the baddies, the Zeus, the reality TV formula, some fans will inevitably interpret that as a competing philosophy. Not necessarily. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think they're competing. Well, I'm not even going to say it's a competition. I think they waged war on Wynn Records and Demetrius. You know what I'm saying? This is all about credibility, about market share, and about attention, about growing a brand, growing fighters, being successful, long-term planning. You know what I mean? This is what you got. So they went out here and waged war on everybody. Everybody, all promoters have been put on notice. And I'm gonna tell you, this is a battle that Wynn Records can't win, and Demetrius can't win. They're up against a different type of machine when it comes to MVP. You know what I'm saying? Now, that being said, Claressa Shields came out here talking about, lift the ban, MVP, lift the ban, lift the ban. You know why? Because she doesn't fit anywhere. You picked a fight with people. You slapped Alicia. You disrespected Jake. You disrespected all the women. I'm just waiting for you to say something slick about Caroline DeBar. But you came out here, man, talking about how you don't need people. You don't need this, blah, blah, blah. Well, all right, Charlie Brown, wonk, wonk. You don't need them, but now you need them. Now the whole situation to some has become fascinating. Because they're saying, damn, big whoa. Talk all that talk about all her accomplishments, about all the women who came before her, who are here with her, who are going to come after her, and how none of them, she feels, has been able to touch her, can touch her like MC Hammer, and going to be able to touch her in the future. But see what happened here? Accomplishments don't automatically guarantee unlimited matchmaking options. Clarissa has become a nowherean. Now, she may say, "Hood champion, man, please. I can fight everybody." No, you can't. No, you can't. Stop. You can't fight anybody because look at the position you're in. You out here begging for MVP. Lift the ban. They ain't lifting that ban. They're maintaining the restriction against her fighting fighters under its promotional umbrella. Her potential opponent, let me tell you, I don't know. But that pool has become real small. Kind of hard for her to breathe right now. And that creates a problem. Where's Papoose? Pap. He caused all this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That dude had an opportunity, boy, to hit a grand slam. I keep saying it. I sit here and shake my head at how they handle Claressa Shields. Brought that bullshit hip hop, street, urban nonsense into boxing, thinking, oh yeah, she's the next Mayweather. Claressa Shields is not no goddamn Mayweather. She can fight, and I'll always give her credit for that, but she ain't no damn Mayweather. Nobody. All right, I'll tell you what, if people come out to see her lose, put on her next event somewhere without Zeus. Just do it, Claressa Shields, Demetrius Salita, and just have a traditional boxing card since you want to have credibility as a boxing promoter, right? You want people to take you serious about your brand entertainment, about your events. Put on a regular boxing card, Claressa Shields, and just have an undercard with boxers from Wynn Records has signed a couple fighters. Put some of your fighters on there, Demetrius Salita fighters on there, and just have a fight card and do it. Hell, do it in Detroit. Do it anywhere. Let's see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you right now, they ain't getting no damn Tam Tebow. They ain't getting Cameron. They ain't getting Michaela Mayer. Could something happen down the line where MVP decides to lift the ban? I don't know. That's on them. But I tell you right now, if you got a pulse of the people, you'll know that the fans increasingly want to see fighters like Hannah Gabriels and Chris Cyborg. They want to see Hannah Gabriels and Chris Cyborg fight Claressa Shields. And to be quite frank with you, I don't think there's anything precluding those fights from being made, except Claressa putting duck sauce on the fried rice. You know what I'm saying? So there's no promotional obstacles there with Cyborg and Gabriel. Cyborg is a crossover fight, which would generate millions, which still don't know why Claressa won't go after that. Hannah Gabriel is a very interesting fight, a fan-friendly fight, a fight that the fans are demanding, and I think you would get the support. But then again, I don't know all the behind-the-scenes economics and shit. I just know if you want to make the fans happy, fight Gabriel's or Cyborgs. But outside of that, she ain't getting Baumgartner. She ain't getting Tebow. She ain't getting Cameron. She ain't getting Mayer. That's crazy. And of course, Baumgartner too small. But maybe down the line, if MVP lifts the ban, maybe they can figure out a catch weight of 150 pounds or 148. Who knows? Because Claressa could lose more. She at 160. She can drop another 20. Definitely 13 pounds. She can drop some more weight. But that's like down the line. But right now, she's not getting any of those opportunities. And I don't think it's hurting the women at MVP for them not fighting her. Because you just got to look at when someone gets attached to Claressa Shields, they contract the gout virus. Look at that shit that happened over there on the Boxing Voice with Two Tone, and the guy Ness. Look at what happened with those two. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about? Let me play a little bit of this for y'all, right? Just look at what happened when the gout virus infects people. Okay, listen to this madness that took place, all because Claressa Shields' name. Well, I got to be careful playing this because I don't want to get no. I'm not going. I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to play it because I got on the video I uploaded. I got limited ad earnings, so I'm not going to play it. But I'll put the link in the descriptions, or you can go to my YouTube Shorts and just look at it. It's called "Wow Drama Over Claressa Shields and Papoose." Just go look at that. But the bottom line, what happened there with the gout virus? Talking about Claressa Shields and Papoose, man, and them guys on the show started going at it. I ain't like this to see that. I don't, all that cussing at each other stuff. I don't like that. So I didn't like seeing them going at each other like that. But no, it was really nasty. If you haven't seen the video and you go watch it, you'll be surprised. Just be prepared for the language. The language is ridiculous, man. But that being said, that's what happens, man, when people attach themselves to Claressa Shields. And this whole situation, all the drama, her, Papoose, and it's just all bad. But anyway, I don't think the women are struggling, you know what I'm saying, on MVP. I think they're just fine if they don't fight Claressa Shields. Now, as far as the MVP ban becoming a major storyline. Look, man, if the restriction remains, fans are going to keep asking, how long are you going to keep it? Hey, you guys, stand on business. Don't let it go. But there are others going to be like, all right, well, what y'all going to do? If Clarissa's the biggest fight for all y'all women who can, make the weight of 160 or come to some kind of catch weight. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you make the fight? It's not that serious. Well, we know it's that serious. She did assault Alicia, and she's been doing a whole bunch of bullshit, and there needs to be some consequences and accountability. But anyway, as far as where does Claressa go next, I don't know. But that's why there's these repeated calls by her fans for MVP to lift the restriction. But I just think it's important for people to understand that I know fans want to fight, but look, MVP is going to tell you what they've said. We need to have some kind of predictability here, safe environment for our fighters, and we don't like her behavior. Big Wolf's behavior is horrible. You know what I'm saying? You see, fans want them to say, oh, the behavior is horrible, but we're willing to make the fights. Yeah, we know that's boxing. But that's not that's not going to happen because there's another argument. Promoters have to protect their fighters and their business relationships. Claressa, you look at Wynn Records and Dimitri-Salita, especially that Wynn Records. What business relationships do they have outside of what they're doing with Dimitri-Salita? And Papoose and Dimitri-Salita were friends, like they forged a relationship about a year before they even started messing around with this Claressa Shields shit. So all I'm saying is promoters have to protect their fighters in the business relationships. And if Jake Paul and MVP decide they want to work with Claressa Shields, I think that hurts. That jeopardizes the fighter's safety and it hurts their business relationships. If a fighter has had serious disagreements with a promotional organization, that organization doesn't necessarily have to provide access to its roster. And that's where Jake Paul and MVP's credibility enter the conversation. You want to maintain your credibility, you better do the right thing, because one bad decision and all that shit is just gone. It goes up in flames. But one thing where MVP doesn't have to worry about, and maybe Claressa and her team can focus on, just fight Hannah Gabriels. This is a very interesting solution. Instead of waiting for MVP to open the door, because I don't believe they're going to do it, at least anytime soon, just go find somebody else. Hannah Gabriel, why not fight her? Where is she going to knock you out? Put the Costa Rican bing bings all up in your mouth. All up in your mouth. Just go fight her. It's the type of opponent who will give the situation legitimate sporting significance. The Shields Gabriels rematch, well, that can answer questions about size, experience, whether Hannah was or was not ever on pads, physicality, ring IQ, championship experience, if Clarissa's putting duck sauce on the fried rice. Shields has the ability to compete against another elite level woman if she takes that fight. You know what I'm saying? And if Shields wins, the argument that she has nowhere to come becomes much weaker. You know what I mean? But if she loses, everybody's going to sit back and be like, and laugh at her the same way she laughed at Shadesha Green when Shadesha Green collapsed off that stool with the brain bleed. The same way she laughed at Amanda Serrano against Mansour. The same way she laughed at Rolly Romero. The same way she laughs at everybody out here. See, that's why she won't take the fight, because she doesn't want to get laughed at. That's why she'll fight someone like a Kay Scott. And then she'll even fight someone like Franchon where she's comfortable with, knows she can beat her, and fight someone like Lanai Daniels who ran around the ring like she was in a goddamn circus. But I tell you what, you don't want to fight Hannah. Everybody wants to keep talking about the pad shit, which there's no truth to it. But I'm not here to beat a dead horse. All right, fight Cris Cyborg. To me, Cris Cyborg is the money fight. So what are we doing? There's nothing to argue here. Cris Cyborg brings an entirely different audience. She already established herself as a combat sports star, and a boxing match against Shields would generate enormous discussion simply because of the personalities involved. There'd be huge money behind the event, and the obvious question would be, who actually wants that fight bad enough to make it happen? We know Cyborg wants it. Claressa Shields is putting duck sauce on the fried rice. You know why? Because do I think she would win? Yeah, I think she outboxes Cris Cyborg. But do I think she's worried about Cris Cyborg's durability? 100%. She's not going to be able to come in there coochie cooing, tickling, and chicken pecking for 10 rounds. They're only 2-minute rounds, too. Cris Cyborg used to fighting for 5-minute goddamn rounds. She knows she get in there with Cris Cyborg. That little coochie coo shit ain't going to do nothing. They got them big ass gloves on, and Chris Cyborg's going to be on her ass. So Clarissa doesn't want the risk. She don't want the risk losing to an MMA fighter. So yeah, she's running scared. Scared, but a scared man, a scared woman can't win. And that's why people aren't putting any respect on Claressa Shields' name. Nobody even cares about what she's accomplished as an amateur and pro no more. Because that's old news. You look at what she's doing here. What have you done for me lately? Nothing. Did Wynn Records help her or hurt Clarissa? She got to blame Wynn Records. And probably, in the next 5 years, 10 years, she'll look back and be like, damn, I messed up. And this is where the conversation can become controversial. Because as observers and critics, they argue. They say, yo, Clarissa's entertainment strategy has sometimes overshadowed her boxing. And that's true. Recently, they don't even talk about her boxing. It's about everything else surrounding the goddamn fight. No one talks about her being a great boxer anymore. Nobody. Even I stopped talking about it. I'll say, yeah, she can fight. But even now, I'm like, yeah, I see what's going on. That conversation, man, when it comes to Claressa Shields, it's like, what's she doing today? I saw something, somebody sent it to me. Clarissa fried chicken, then she fried it again, so she made twice fried chicken in a pan and in the air fryer. And she put a fucking bag of rice and boiled it. Like, what kind of bull? You can't make rice? You got rice in a fucking bag? I said, God damn, no wonder the internet does what it does. I didn't believe it. I'll be honest with you. I was like, nah, she can make rice. She at least get a rice cooker. Get a rice cooker. You getting bags of rice, then you fried the chicken, twice fried chicken. I thought it was Chinese at first. I'm always at the Bamboo Garden. I said, God damn, she made twice fried chicken and y'all sitting there giving a shit. Then I saw she had fried it in a pan. Then from the pan went to the air fryer. I said, what kind of wicked sorcery is this? I turned it off because I didn't know if it was voodoo. So I can't watch shit like that. Next thing you know, I'll be here making twice fried, air fried chicken or whatever the fuck that was. But that doesn't have nothing to do with what we're talking about here. The bottom line is controversy creates attention. And she knows that. But attention isn't necessarily the thing as positive brand value. And that's why everybody, instead of talking about Clarissa as a fighter, they're talking about her making twice fried chicken. First in the pan, then in the air fryer. And get a bag full of rice and throw that shit in some boiling hot water. Get the hell out of here with that bullshit. Just like get the hell, this hip-hop shit, get it out of boxing. Boxing and hip-hop are two different worlds. Probably the most important lesson. Entertainment culture can reward, at times, beef, conflict, shock value, personal attacks, viral moments, public confrontation. We get it. But boxing has some of those elements too, more like during a weigh-in and stuff. But it's not that often, but it happens. But see, boxing also heavily values something that hip-hop doesn't. Discipline, respect, professionalism, things Wynn Records knows nothing about. Sportsmanship, reliability, competitive matchmaking, fighter safety. Things that Wynn Records knows nothing about. The strategy that produces millions of views in entertainment doesn't automatically produce millions of dollars in boxing. That's the disconnect critics believe Clarissa's team may have underestimated. You know what I'm saying? And I know they did. They came over here and brought that crazy ass shit to boxing and ruined Clarissa's brand and image. Now they may say, well, she can go fight in Detroit or fight somewhere and she makes, $2 or $3 million a fight. Okay, cool. Well, if that's what they're making, all right, but what about, if they would have done it right and built the brand the right way, now all of a sudden maybe she's making 15, 20, 30 million. But no one likes it. No one wants to work with her. No one wants to work with Wynn Records. No one wants to work with Demetrius Slater. So they got to do shit in their own world. And that's why you got a visibility problem. And that's the irony here. The more visible Clarissa became, the more people were able to scrutinize her. And that's what happened. She's underneath the microscope every day. Every interview became content. Every argument became content. Every social media post became content. Every controversial statement became content. And even if she's out here on Snapchat and she's making twice fried chicken in a bag of rice and boiling water, people are going to talk about it. And again, no one's talking about how great she is. It's like, yo, is Claressa Shields good for the brand? And that's a completely different conversation of why she has nobody want to put money into her. And this guy, Papoose, it's another area where you should be careful, people. Someone like Clarissa, man, I know you with Papoose, that's your man. Hey, Hood Champion can care less about that relationship. You do what you want to do. I don't care. It's just entertaining to me, but I don't give a shit. You with him and he get back with Remy, all three of y'all married, Hood Champion don't give a shit. But what I'm telling you is, there are plenty of opinions about Papooses influence, you know what I'm saying? About how he ruined Clarissa's career. But I'll say this. I think he tried to bring in this entertainment strategy surrounding Claressa. And some think it improved her boxing brand. I think it damaged her boxing brand. But if you talk to a Gwody, these are the Claressa Shields fans that wake up in the morning, don't wash their face or brush their teeth or wash their ass. They just get a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and jump on their iPhone or computer and start talking shit. They can debate it, man. I'm not debating it. I'm just telling you my opinion. I think her brand has been destroyed. And I blame Papoose. I blame Wynn Records. And Demetrius Salita and Claressa, there's some culpability on her end because she's a big woman. She know what the hell she's doing. But everybody has an opinion on what happened to her in her career. Some people think she's up and away. But hey, I don't. But you got to understand, when people think that her career has gone the wrong direction, look at the bullshit now. Since when has Claressa ever finished a fight and kept gloves on? So you got the K. Scott glove controversy. You know what I mean? This is the biggest unanswered question in the entire storyline. There's video. You go look at the video. K. Scott had them gloves on right up into the damn post-fight press conference, and then they were removed underneath the table. They look funky. No, it just looks suspicious. I'm not saying there was any wrongdoing. I'm just telling you the shit looks suspicious. But fans have asked questions about what happened with them gloves after the K. Scott fight. Why were they kept on? Why did it take so long to remove them? Why the hell did Papoose take them off? Why is he even involved in this shit? Why wasn't the procedure handled openly by the trainer or a commission personnel? We know that Georgia has a rule where you don't have to necessarily take your gloves off after the fight and turn them over to the commission, but why didn't she take them off? If you hurt one hand, okay, well, take off the one on the other hand. You see, the trainer should have taken that shit off. That should have removed it, And where are the gloves? You see, this is what we want to know. I'm going to do a separate video on this. That's what we want to know. But I'll tell you what, again, I'm going to say there's no proof of wrongdoing. But what I'll tell you is fans are asking. Even I'm asking. I asked the question. I was one of the first. I think I was the first one to drop a little YouTube short. I dropped 2. And I was just asking, why has, what has not been established here is why they kept those gloves on. But she never did that shit before. And why the hell you're moving underneath the table? Is it just being considerate because the conference was going on and K. Scott was speaking? The gloves were moved out of view for a reason, people. And for that reason, I don't know, but they need to come out and explain why. Viewers want to know the answer. Everybody wants to know the answer. But that being said, that's a whole separate conversation, and that's a whole separate video, this glove scandal bullshit. Because no one understands. Just explain why. And then show us the gloves. That's all. But that being said, MVP, they wage a war on these people, man. The band stays, Claressa has nowhere to go, and MVP has a huge opportunity. Look at the fight cards they're putting on. Absolutely amazing. They don't have to attack Claressa. She's the one talking shit about them. They don't even say nothing. You notice that? MVP not even paying her no attention. They don't have to respond to the controversy. They can simply continue putting on major fights like what they're doing. Full steam ahead, up and away. And that's very, very powerful. You know what I'm saying? They're continuing with Baumgardner, Serrano, Mayer, Cameron, Dubois, Turhan, all the other fighters they have over there, Rosado. There's so many of them. And Clarissa's on the outside of the ecosystem talking about, MVP, lift the band. I fight him. I whip your ass. I whip this one's ass. I whip this one. You ain't whipping nobody's ass because you banned. You know what I'm saying? Only thing you could do is like Willow Smith and whip your hair back and forth and hope that goddamn wig don't fly across the goddamn room. Maybe it'll fly across the room, and that'll be the day Papoose don't have a hat on it, land on his head and have him looking crazy. So the storyline writes itself. But again, Clarissa got to blame herself. It's her fault. She ain't got nowhere to go, man. She did it to herself. And that's the ultimate irony, you know? You spend years demanding respect, but now the question becomes, can you demand access to somebody else's fighter? No, you got to negotiate it. You got to beg. That's the business. And that's why Jake Paul suddenly becomes an important character in this whole story. Because she out here demanding respect for women's boxing, but she's trash women's boxing. If you trash women's boxing, you trash Jake Paul's promotional platform. Jake Paul is women's boxing. It is. His name has become synonymous with women's boxing, and he's doing great things. I haven't heard one bad thing about what's going on over there. I haven't heard one time that a woman's unhappy. They all seem to be happy and up and away. What kind of money they're making, I don't know. Jake Paul's a promoter. He's in it to make money. He's not in it to lose money. I'm not saying everybody making more money than Clarissa or any other fighter, but I'm telling you that the women seem to be happy. Now, for Jake Paul, he got two choices, man. One, lift the ban. The argument, forget the drama, make the fights. This could give fans, you know, Claressa Shields against Mary Cameron and maybe a catch weight in a dream fight against Baumgartner. For those who don't follow boxing, don't talk. But for those who follow boxing, you know dream fights can happen. They made goddamn Pacquiao and De La Hoya. De La Hoya got down to 147. And wait, that man had been in years. I'm talking like 7, 8 years, some crazy shit. He killed himself to get down to 147. And he got tranquilized by a Pacquiao who was in his prime. Now, when it comes to Claressa Shields, she can get her ass down to 147. And she won't kill herself. She has a lot of softness on her. So she can get down. And Baumgartner, if she want to be great, come up. I mean, it's that simple. Baumgartner's like almost 5'7", Clarissa's 5'9". I mean, figure it out. But again, it just depends on promotional circumstances and everything. That's if Jake decides to lift the ban. But if he decides to keep the ban, well, the argument is, you know, our fighters deserve an environment where they feel respected and protected. And I think 98% of us agree with keeping the ban. But if Jake believes allowing Shields back into the MVP ecosystem undermines his relationship with his fighters, he may decide the money's not worth it. You know, and I hope he does what's right, because everybody is watching Jake Paul. You see, the goat virus affects everybody. Everybody's watching Jake Paul right now. Now, the most dangerous thing for Clarissa, it's not MVP, it's not Papoose. It ain't Wynn Records, it's not Jake Paul. It's time. Every year that passes without major fights against elite opponents gives critics more ammunition. And at some point, fans stop asking who can beat Clarissa. They start asking, why does Clarissa continue to be toxic, and who does Clarissa have left to fight? And that's a devastating question for any champion, especially when she plans on taking time off, having a Pap Jr., getting married, and then she wants to fight till 38. I mean, if they decide to keep that ban all up in her ass, what's she going to do? What's she going to come back to? Because I think for sure Wynn Records will shrivel up. You know, they're going to shrivel up. Demetrius Salita, what he's doing with women's boxing, is going to die out. All he has is Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields is all he has. That's why he was over there begging for her to stay. He has nobody. That's his big fish in his small pond. Watch, Clarissa can't take time off. Watch Papoose do Clarissa like he was trying to do Remy when she was talking about needing a break and not being bossed around, and he was like basically disagreeing and saying to keep working. Look at Clarissa. She ain't going to get no time off. You think they're going to let Clarissa take a year off to go out there and have a Pap Jr. and sit there, man, and take some convalescent leave? Hell no. They're going to have her fighting. Clarissa is not, none of that shit's going to happen. She's going to fight. And she's gonna miss out on that window that she wanted to be in. Age 30, she'll be 31 this, she'll be 32 next year. Ain't no child coming. Ain't no child coming. They need her to fight because Wynn Records has nobody that's going to be able to make I guess decent money like Clarissa. Demetrius has nobody that can make decent money like Clarissa. So why would they let her sideline herself for 1 or 2 years? They're in the business to make money. You understand? So Jake Paul and his ladies, if somebody decides to take a little break, retire, they still up and away. So MVP is sitting back out there. They got the upper hand. They sitting back laughing, man. They ain't worried about none of that bullshit going on. Clarissa has nowhere to go. Nowhere. So who's winning? MVP or Wynn Records? There's no competition. You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you what. You may say, well, that's not a fair question. We know that. All right, who needs who more? Does MVP need Claressa Shields? Or does Clarissa need MVP? Who's begging? Who's down on their hands and knees all four begging? That's all I'm asking. MVP is going to continue creating major women's boxing events without her. I don't care what anyone says. If Clarissa had a good attitude, never hooked up with this, got herself involved in this Papoose shit, Clarissa, she was doing the right thing. She knew the where to go for her, the place to go for her was the MVP. She could have signed a little 2-year deal, 4-fight deal, or 5-fight deal, whatever. A lot of fighters do it. Build up her profile and brand, using MVP as a springboard where she could come out here and operate independent and manage herself. Do like Crawford did, do like Mayweather did, do like De La Hoya did. Like what Shaquille Stevenson's kind of doing. They're moving around. Every promoter would have wanted to work with her and her value would have skyrocketed. But she chose the bad attitude and to hook up with Papoose, who brought this brand entertainment, hip-hop bullshit into her world and destroyed her brand because they wanted to make her a villain. Nah, man, they did too much. They did too much. Clarissa's going to struggle to find elite opponents. She got 2 that she can fight, Hannah Gabriels and Chris Cyborg. Outside of that, she don't have nothing. People don't want to attach themselves to her, you know what I mean? She doesn't have the leverage. MVP has all the leverage. Other promoters have the leverage. You can't come out there and think somebody's going to fight you when they see you getting these guarantees of what you're making and they saw what Kid Scott got and she was a unified champion. Hell no, they ain't going to let you come out there and suck out their eyeballs. That shit ain't going to fly. So that's where this story becomes extremely interesting. Watch Jake Paul. They wage war on these people. They're like, we're going to show you. You know what I mean? They're putting the squeeze on them, putting on major events. They got traditional boxing credibility. And Clarissa's not involved with none of those events. I know she wants to fight on ESPN. I know she wants to be over there. She wants to shine. Claressa likes that shit. So what's she getting over there? Long term, I guess we're going to find out, right? Because right now, Claressa left out in the cold. She probably need them goddamn furs that she getting from where you going to say, Temu or something? I don't even know what the hell that is. But her ass is left out in the cold. That's a whole nother video right there. Left out in the cold with nowhere to go. Whatever little bit of money she making, I hope it was worth it, you know what I'm saying? Because I tell you what, those women on MVP, none of them are being left out in the cold. And Jake Paul and them have a long-term plan, growing their brands, growing their profiles, and those women are going to continue to make money and money hand over fist. And you watch, they're going to surpass whatever Clarissa claims she's making. You're going to see these women be able to stand on their own 2 feet and make that kind of money. Just watch. It's coming. But the bottom line is, things are heating up for MVP, and things have gone cold as hell for Claressa Shields, Papoose, Wynn Records, Demetrius. They destroyed, in my opinion, the negative energy, negative attitude, trying to be the villain, destroyed her brand. And they should have known better. They took her the wrong direction. She got visibility, she got attention. But that doesn't mean that she's liked, and it hasn't translated into currency. It is what it is. Keep cool. Jake Paul says the band stays. Clarissa's fucked in the breeze.